Coming up on this special edition of the ICT Newscast, we join indigenous canoeists who are on a journey retracing the continent's original highways. A traditional Wampanoag clam bake shines a light on an underlying cultural rejuvenation. A Navajo citizen and Kansas state lawmaker is honored as a top leader by the Obama Foundation. And we meet a Pueblo educator. We have those interviews ahead.
This program is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people.
The ICT Newscast is sponsored by the Indian Land Tenure Foundation, a nonprofit organization serving American Indian nations and people in the recovery and control of their rightful homelands. On the web at iltf.org.
Support for the ICT Newscast with Aaliyah Chavez comes from the Arizona PBS studios in Phoenix at the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communications at Arizona State University. Thank you for joining us on this special edition of the ICT Newscast. I'm Mark Trahant. We start today on the East Coast. ICT's Stuart Huntington traveled to New York recently for a story on indigenous canoeists retracing river routes that were the continent's original highways. Take a look.
They started paddling in May on the Penobscot River in Maine's Penobscot Nation and plan to complete their journey right back there in September, after passing through native lands all along their way through New York, up the Hudson River into Quebec, and then back down the Penobscot. At a stop in the Shinnecock Nation, Onondaga citizen Hickory Edwards said the trip is much more than mere aquatic adventure.
The world needs unity, and that's really what we're doing, is uniting these nations all the way down from Penobscot territory, all the way down the coast into Shinnecock, and then up into my lands. We got Mohawk, Oneida, Onondaga, that we're all united through these flowing waters. I believe that it's important for us to start relearning these highways.
And spreading wisdom. Shinnecock citizen Shanae Bullock helped guide the paddlers through her nation's waterways.
Out there behind us is the Atlantic Ocean. There's a small piece of land there, and there's the Atlantic Ocean on the other side. And here is what's called the Shinnecock Bay. Our people have been living here since time immemorial on this bay. This bay is very much a part of our genetic makeup. We understand that she's alive. And when you come up to Shinnecock, you can swim and still see your feet, because we shellfish and we take care of the land underneath the water. And that's just our everyday life. If the world really could spend the time to be guided through our homelands and through our waterways to see how we live, to see what we did, they would truly understand, how to do that properly.
And above all, respect the water.
There's the one element that remains constant, that life cannot exist without it, and that's water. Now that water makes up, roughly 75% of us, and that water that's in us right now is that same water that was here in the beginning of time. It's been recycled over and over in the clouds, in the ground, in every blade of grass. It's been in our grandparents, our great-great-grandparents, thousands of years ago, and it's in us now, that same exact water. And that's why it's important to, keep these waters alive, because they are us. They are our grandfathers. They are our future.
Edwards, who spends a lot of his time learning, living, and teaching traditional canoe culture, considers himself first and foremost a water protector.
One of the reasons why I start becoming a water protector is coming on these waters and seeing directly firsthand the sickness on these waters. We have all these pollutants that come in where some places where we can't swim. In my own lands, Onondaga Lake is one of the most polluted lakes in the world.
At Standing Rock, he made a lasting contribution.
I grabbed a tree from the Cannonball River and dug a hole, stuck it in there, and I sat there for a week, with pieces of wood and nails, and asked people where they're from and then how many miles to home. We had people from Iceland, Greenland, far away as Australia. And the Smithsonian at National Museum of the American Indian got word that it was there and, reached out and, I said, that I made it and that I could save it and rescue it from being demolished and bulldozed over. And they agreed. So I went out for my 5th time out to Standing Rock and rescued that mile marker pole and donated it to the museum.
Today, Edwards is back out on the water as the great canoe journey, stroke by stroke, moves towards its return to the Penobscot Nation. Along the way, they stopped at the Unkashog Nation on Long Island, where Chief Harry Wallace greeted them and honored them, and perhaps best summed up the journey's message of connection and regeneration.
Greetings, my friend and relative. My name is Harry Wallace. Giwase Inini in my language, which means hunter man. I'm a Turtle Clan, and I'm the elected chief of the Unkachog Indian Nation, and we are here on our land, which is called Puspatuk, which means the place where the waters burst forth. This village has been in our possession for over 1,000 years. We've never relinquished control or jurisdiction to anybody here, and we're here to celebrate and honor the voyage of our relatives who are traveling by water. It is a voyage that has taken place for thousands of years. The original waterways were the original highways of America. And so what this journey is doing is reaffirming our territorial jurisdiction over our water. And we are honored to be a part of this celebration and proud and honored to be a part of this journey.
In the Unkashog Nation, Stuart Huntington, ICT News.
We turn now to Cape Cod, Massachusetts, the home of the Mashpee Wampanoag. The tribe embarked on some major cultural and economic rejuvenation projects, but only after turning back the latest challenge to their homelands. ICT's Stuart Huntington went for a look and has this report.
The Mashpee Wampanoag are no strangers to resistance and resilience. The citizens of the coastal tribe have, after all, been fighting for their land and lifeways since before the Pilgrims landed at nearby Plymouth Rock. They fought in the 1970s to finally win federal recognition as a tribe, and they fought all the way into this year when a federal court threw out the final challenge to their reservation boundaries and tribal status. The win allowed tribal leaders to exhale a bit and turn to rejuvenation efforts, like the weeks-long Preserve Our Homelands camp for youth, or the pre-contact home site under construction under the guidance of tribal citizen Talia Landry.
Our land and trust status has been reaffirmed, so it hasn't been as difficult to try and get things built or to do things on our own land because our focus was on fighting for that land. And so with the leaders and legislation kind of focused on that, it's hard to get little projects, or even, this is a big project, a huge project like this done.
A summer Witu that would have been home to a single family is fully framed. The garden is in with the 3 sisters, corn, beans, and squash, happily at home together. Reeds for Witu mats dry in a barn.
This project is a pre-contact traditional Wampanoag home site, or village site, I should say, because it includes multiple home sites within the village. And the essence of it is an interactive museum that you go through the seasons and you see how our ancestors would live pre-contact, 1700s, of how our traditional homes were, our activities that we would do. So there's like a, fishing area, like tanning area, just even recreation.
But it's not just homes, said cultural advisor Chanulke Poknet.
We're putting a whole footprint in of a whole home site, winter and summer, with connecting trails and signage and informative plants and herbs that we have native to here, so that we have more awareness of our native plants and medicines within our community and outside of our community for people who come in to learn.
All of it built with the help of Wampanoag youth.
That means
like Isaiah Peters, who said it was exciting.
It's a really good thing to do because it introduces our culture and the ways that our people thought, and kind of like ties them together with modern things. Like when you look at some of the things that we do, we burn the ends of the poles so that they don't rot.
Amaya Balbuena shared the sentiment.
It was honestly just a really amazing experience to be a part of that, saying oh, I did that to the We2, I peeled that bark with my own hands. It's definitely connecting with the people that made We2s before us, like our ancestors that did it. We give thanks to the trees for the life of giving it to ours and making it so we can have a We2. It's definitely connecting to my ancestors, my papa personally, because
they need to be exposed to this so they feel the way that they're supposed to feel. They feel Wampanoag and they have that self-identity and they have that confidence to keep moving forward and not keep thinking there's nothing to do here or I have no purpose here.
Over by the tribal offices, a celebratory clam bake was underway to mark the last day of the Restore Our Homelands youth camp. Tribal Chairman Brian Whedon praised the effort.
It's important for us to teach our young people their culture and their traditions because at one point in time it was outlawed. It was forbidden for you to grow out your hair, it was forbidden for you to speak your language. They were sending some of our children to the Carlisle Indian School to assimilate, the Native Americans and take the savage out of them, so to speak. And we're happy to say that we've reclaimed our language, and every day we're learning and reinventing some ceremonies and cultural aspects to make sure that we carry on the traditions for future generations while creating new traditions as well.
Camp leaders like Tribal Natural Resources Director Jason Steiding said the camp's goals are far-reaching.
We really try to hammer home the fact that it is a privilege and a right to be Mashpee Wampanoag, and what comes with that right, what comes with those privileges. And so a lot of that we've been trying to instill in them, but we've also let them know that there's a sense of urgency in this community. The waters are dying, the water quality is horrible.
We're coastal people, we're water people, and this river that we're sitting by right now is contaminated. You can't drink out of it, you can't even swim in it, you can't eat any plants that come out of it.
It's not just our responsibility to take care of each other, but to take care of Mother Earth. And right now with everything going on in the world, I think it's safe to say that, nobody's really taking care of Mother Earth like she should be taken care of, or else we wouldn't have global warming and all these other issues that we have today.
In Mashpee, Massachusetts, Stuart Huntington, ICT News.
At just 29 years old, one Dene citizen is making a name for herself in the world of politics. She is a member of the Kansas State House of Representatives, a champion of reproductive rights and of missing and murdered Indigenous relatives. And now, she has been named to the First Leaders USA class by the Obama Foundation. ICT's Stuart Huntington caught up with Kansas State Representative Christina Haswood the day after the announcement came from the foundation, and he asked her how she was taking the news.
Yeah, I'm still just freaking out about it. It hasn't really settled in much, but it's a complete honor to be selected amongst 100 leaders across our country. There's several great leaders from Indian country, and we are all just trying to make a difference in our community. So being from Kansas, being a member of the Navajo Nation, that can be a bit challenging. So there's a lot of great leaders in this program that I look forward to learning from their experiences and how we can set up these foundations and building blocks and do our part this time in our own generation to build a better infrastructure for the future generations of issues that we currently face.
One of the things that you've done in your time in the legislature is to help Kansas pass an MMIP bill. I wonder if you could give us an update on where that work stands in Kansas.
Yeah, so this bill was first introduced by Kansas's first female state representative, former state rep Punkawee Victor's Kozad. And it's a really great story where I was in grad school and I got to see her introduce this bill in the legislature, have a press conference, and she encouraged us to wear our traditional regalia. And when we got to the Capitol, she asked us to stand behind her. And it was just a very powerful moment. And not not a lot of moments you get in politics where you have that feeling that you're all working towards a good issue and you have support from all across political ideologies. So I was happy to be just in the room with that. Then the next year, I ended up running for office. And when I won office, she so graciously asked me if I would like to help her get this bill across the finish line. And that bill ended up passing in the Kansas State Legislature unanimously. And we had support of testimony from high school students, KU students, to Indigenous community leaders come to Topeka to provide testimony on how important this legislation was. That legislation did end up passing. It was signed by the governor in the 2021 session, and it has been in statute since July 1st, 2021.
I see that you have I don't know if it's a specialty, but a focus on social media. What does the tools of social media bring to Indian country?
That's a really good question. One of the unique things about my work in civic engagement and being a state legislator is utilizing social media platforms like TikTok. And that's not really traditionally used. When I first used it in 2020 in the world of politics, around that time when I was pretty brand new to being a state legislator, it was COVID time. And we were not able to do the traditional methods of civic engagement, door knocking, meeting folks where they're at. So social media was a great tool to stay connected and to spread our message and make sure we reach as many people as possible. I want to share with you 3 take-home advices on leadership. Understanding before you break down a fence why that fence was put in there in the first place. Treat people with kindness because they're always going to remember how you made them feel. Talk less and listen more. Experimenting with apps like TikTok and new apps that come out, I think that has captured a younger audience. And my goal is to make politics not scary, to make politics fun, and to make civic engagement just every normal part of your day.
That sounds to me like what you're aiming at is the younger demographic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just think back to when I first ran for office, I was 26. I'm currently 29. So it wasn't too long ago that I was not elected official. And I just think back to when I was in grad school and undergrad, just how unattainable being civically engaged was, how intimidating it is, especially if you come to the Capitol and our big building. It's completely intimidating. You have nowhere to go. You don't even know where the restrooms are. The more that I can help pull that curtain back, the more I can help show, like, as legislators, we are just everyday folks. And we want to hear your issues and help you with any issues in the community, in the state. I think the more that I can help folks get more civically engaged and to help break some of those barriers down. And my ultimate goal, one of my many ultimate goals, is to have more young people run for office and to have more of that diversity in our elected official capacities.
Thank you very much for joining us today, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Around the U.S., children are dusting off the backpacks and getting excited for the start of a new academic year. Last year, we aired a back-to-school segment with Laura Lee Chavez, who happens to be a teacher at the Santo Domingo Pueblo Elementary and Middle School in New Mexico. Many of you loved that segment, so we're doing it again this year.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Laura Lee Chavez. I am currently working at Santo Domingo School within Bernalillo Public Schools, and this year I'm teaching middle school social studies.
You just started school. Tell us what you are observing in the behaviors of your students this year.
So a lot of the things I'm seeing is I'm seeing excitement. I have kids coming. This is my 3rd year. I'm teaching them. So going from 6th grade to 8th grade, they're ready to be the seniors of the middle school. I see nervousness. I see kids who are nervous about taking off their masks for the first time. We're going back into full settings of school, and we do have availability for masks, but really feeling comfortable with their body and their faces that they haven't shown the world in 3 years. And then another thing I'm seeing is a little bit of anxiousness as far as what friends am I going to make? Who's my new teacher? There are new students coming to my school. Maybe I'm going to a new school. And so I do see those little bits of anxiousness as our students are getting off the bus, heading to their classrooms. But I'm really excited and I'm ready to bring my positive behavior to counteract any anxiousness or nervousness that they may have.
We know that confidence in kids and teens plays a huge role in their lives. What is something that parents can do in order to make their kids feel confident going back to school?
The biggest thing I think parents can do is, one, give your student positive affirmations. It's really important to remind them that they are the future of our generations, especially Indigenous youth. Indigenous youth want to be known they are loved, they are heard, they are cared for. So really waking up every day and saying, you're going to do a great job in school today. No matter how hard you try, your best is all we need for you to give today. Different types of positive affirmations to start their day off right. Other things you can do is continue those things throughout the year. Some kids take lunch boxes, but even putting positive notes, having quotes or bringing educators into their life from your community. So any elders who've gone to college, but really bringing their voice into their students and reminding them that education is the catalyst for the future.
Virtually everyone has a phone, especially elementary school kids, middle school kids, high school kids. What online safety tips do you look out for?
So at our school, we are implementing our second year of no cell phone policy. So during the day, our students are checking their cell phone to their homeroom teacher. Throughout the day, they don't have access to their phone, and then they get it before they get back on the bus. Our biggest issue moving into that was parents were afraid between school safety and COVID. Our parents use those cell phones to make contact with their students at any time of the day. So really reassuring parents in your community that they still can have access to their student anytime during the day through the school office or through school personnel. The second piece is really talking to your student about being a responsible cell phone owner. Really showing them what's appropriate cell phone time usage, what is not appropriate. And that may even lead to having more conversations within your family and with parents as far as how do we set boundaries with technology and how do we have a good relationship with technology? Because as much as we don't want to admit it, technology is going to be a relative of ours and we have to practice kinship with technology. So just really being conscious of that and approaching it with that mindset.
We know that lots of urban Native American kids are heading back to school. What message would you have for those students who might be a little nervous to walk into a classroom where they're the only Native student or they don't see Native teachers in their hallways?
You do not have to hold the entire Indigenous world on your shoulders. What you do is you bring your beautiful understandings, you bring your language, you bring whatever Indigenous capacity you have to the school, and that's all you need to be. The hardest part within schools across the country is there's not enough teacher resources or training to teach maybe non-Native or teachers that have not taught Indigenous students before. How do you show up for Indigenous students? How to not offend, how to not celebrate things like the typical Thanksgiving narrative, and really honoring things like land back, land acknowledgement, current issues in Indigenous communities. Other things urban Native students can do is make connection to urban Indigenous communities. All throughout America, our Indigenous peoples have been relocated, but we have found ways to connect in big cities and create spaces where we feel at home and feel connected. So not only can you seek those in your big cities or the urban areas that you live, but you can also recreate those spaces within your school. So starting a Native American club, starting any type of Indigenous programming or initiatives at your school is something you can take on that will not only help you, but maybe help out another Indigenous students that didn't know or maybe needed the same kind of help that you do.
Last year, I asked you if you had a message for your fellow Indigenous educators, so I'll ask you the same thing again this year.
I want to first start with honoring yourself, your mind, your body, and your soul. As Indigenous educators, we show up every day and we give our entire energy, our love, our grace to all our students. And the hardest part is really taking that moment or taking that time to pour back into yourself. So whether it's you're taking 5 minutes to go feel the rays of the sun on your body, or you go outside and you take a deep breath of Mother Earth's air, and that's what sustains you or gives you a little bit of peace and healing to keep you going through your day. Doing things on the weekend to help you feel better and feel ready to go back each week and be the best teacher that we can be for our students.
Well, my beautiful sister, I am so proud of you, and I hope that you have the very best school year. Thank you so much for taking the time to join the ICT Newscast today.
I appreciate your time. Thank you for having me.
And that's a slice of our Indigenous world. For all the latest, visit ictnews.org. From all of us in the newsroom, stay safe, my relatives.
This program is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people.